This message is for the ladies that's currently awaiting a promise of marriage from the Lord. The Lord gave you a promise of a future marriage, and you're currently in your waiting season, and you may find yourself growing impatient. You may be growing impatient for one reason or another. Maybe you looking around with your families, with your friends on social media, and you seeing what it seems like everybody else is being blessed. You seeing everybody else getting married, or they're not getting married, they're engaged to be married, or they're past the marriage stage going on to build a family. But I got up on this video today to encourage you. If God gave you a promise of marriage, you need to trust and believe that his promises are still yes and amen, and his promises shall spring forth and they shall come to pass in your life. Never, never, ever. This is what I have to tell myself as well. Compare your life to the next woman life, to the next man life. That is one of the most dangerous things we can do for ourselves. And that also causes us to become discouraged. It also causes us to sometimes step out the will of God, and we start to do things our way and what feels right in our way. And sometimes when we do things like that, a lot of times when we do things like that, we end up birthing Ishmael while we was en route, to our Isaac. So let God give you a way, ladies. Let God be that father figure to you. Let him be your husband while you waiting on your husband to come, okay? Because God promises is still yes and amen. And one thing that I love about the Lord, is if he say a thing, he's going to fulfill that thing, okay? If he gave you a promise of marriage, you don't have to force it. You don't have to fight for it. God will send you that man in the fullness of time, not in the timing that we naturally hope for, okay? Because a lot of us, we think that we are prepared for some things, some promises that the Lord may have spoken over our lives. And a lot of times we don't be prepared. We don't have the skill sets. We don't have the mindset. We don't possess a lot of the things, that the Lord would like for us to possess at that time when that promise is given. Okay. So a lot of times when the Lord gives us a vision or he gives us a promise for a future, we want to go ahead and possess that because we are so excited for those things, especially marriage, because marriage is a beautiful thing, but we have to realize that it's not in our timing, and we have to trust the Lord, and we have to learn to lean not into our own understanding, but in all of our ways, we have to acknowledge him and understand that sometimes God will do some things that is beyond our human capacity. It's beyond our human understanding. Okay. So maybe it's been a year that since he gave you that promise of marriage, or maybe it's been multiple years, and you looking at everybody else and around you, and it seems like everybody else is prospering, everybody else is being blessed, everybody else is going on to have children, get married, get engaged, and it seems like God has forgotten about you. But I want to encourage you that God still remembers you, and yes, God still answers prayers. And while you in the wait, and continue to do the work of, on yourself, continue to self-develop yourself. You never just wait and stagnate. You should always actively wait upon the Lord, actively self-develop, actively deploy yourself into the purpose, into the things that the Lord has called you to steward over while you waiting on some of the promises of God to be fulfilled in your life. And I would encourage you just to be patient. Just remember and put your trust, put your hope, put your confidence in the Lord and the Lord alone. Because if you don't, and you tend to give in to that flesh, give in to that, that eagerness, that the flesh going to start bringing up to you, you might go out there and you might attempt to try to find the Isaac, but you will end up birthing an Ishmael, and you never want to do that. You never want to delay your promise. You never want to delay your destiny. Okay, so this is for those ladies, like I said, that's in the waiting season and have been waiting, and it just don't seem like God gonna come through. And maybe you have questioned if that, that promise was just a desire that you made up, or a desire that the Lord put up in you. But I encourage you that if God gave you that desire, which I'm sure that he did, trust me, he will bring it to pass. Okay, so just continue to actively wait upon the Lord, continue to actively deploy yourself into your purpose, and do the things that the Lord has called for you to do, because you will not miss his promises. You will not miss the man that God has for you, because one thing that I know for sure, and what I have came to know, what God has for you is for you. Can't no devil in hell take it away, okay? But you have to make sure that you're not doing things that's outside of the will of God, and you're not birthing things and producing things that God did not ordain for you to birth or produce, okay, ladies? So continue to wait well, continue to do the things that the Lord has called you to do, continue to self-develop in your waiting season, and let God give you a way. Let your husband, because God is your husband in this season, okay? For those that's not married, for those that's waiting on the Lord for a marriage, for those that's maybe dating, God is still your husband until you officially off the market, until you officially married, okay? So let your first husband, which is God, give you a way, okay? Because back in Genesis, we know that when God took the rib out of Adam, he made woman. And the Bible clearly states, and God brought woman to man. So he would never, leave you right there. He would never leave that desire and place that desire within you if he don't have the wills or the means to bring it to pass. Okay. So y'all be patient. Trust God. He baby, he ain't forgot about you, sis. I promise he have not forgot about the promises that he has spoken over your life. And continue to look straight. Continue to try your best to look straight, only because when we start looking left and right, we tend to become, wavering. That's when we get all, worried, because we looking at how she or he seen blessed, how, that's working for them. And we feel like God may have forgotten us when we start to look, do those type of things. And I know it can become hard when, you try to focus on your own self, but then you seeing all these other people being blessed. But again, God has not forgotten about you. And this is for those ladies that have a promise of marriage on their life. Let God give you a way. Let God be your husband until then. I promise y'all, he won't let nothing good, something that's designed for you, pass you by.